Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 27th chapter, text number 15. Manyamanastadaatmanam anashto nashtavan nashte hankarane drishta nashtavitta ivaturaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The living entity can vividly feel his existence as a seer, but because of the disappearance of the ego during the state of deep sleep, he falsely takes himself to be lost, like a man who has lost his fortune and feels distressed, thinking himself to be lost. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Only in ignorance does the living entity think that he is lost. If by attainment of knowledge he comes to the real position of his eternal existence, he knows that he is not lost. An appropriate example is mentioned herein. Nashta vitta ivaturaha. A person who has lost a great sum of money may think that he is lost, but actually he is not lost, only his money is lost. But due to his absorption in the money or identification with the money, he thinks that he is lost. Similarly, when we falsely identify with matter as our field of activities, we think that we are lost, although actually we are not. As soon as a person is awakened to the pure knowledge of understanding that he is an eternal servitor of the Lord, his own real position is revived. A living entity can never be lost. When one forgets his identity in deep sleep, he becomes absorbed in dreams, and he may think himself a different person or may think himself lost. But actually his identity is intact. This concept of being lost is due to false ego, and it continues as long as one is not awakened to the sense of his existence as an eternal servitor of the Lord. The Mayavadi philosopher's concept of becoming one with the Supreme Lord is another symptom of being lost in false ego. One may falsely claim that he is the Supreme Lord, but actually he is not. This is the last snare of Maya's influence upon the living entity. To think oneself equal with the Supreme Lord, or to think oneself to be the Supreme Lord himself, is also due to false ego. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport.
Lord Kapila is explaining what is material nature. The title of this chapter, Understanding Material Nature. Here specifically, he is describing material nature's influence on our consciousness. Material nature has got two aspects. One is material nature is made up of the elements. Bhumirapo nalo vayu khammano buddhire. Ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtada. It is prakriti, but it is described as the 8 elements, gross and subtle. But there is another aspect of this prakriti, material nature, that is the 3 gunas, the 3 modes. 8 elements, generally, it is not difficult to understand. It is very difficult to understand what is this 3 gunas. 3 gunas, they are very, very subtle. They are more subtle than even the mind, intelligence and ego. Why? Because they are acting on the mind, on the intelligence, on the ego, on the elements of matter. These 3 gunas act even on our consciousness. They act on our consciousness. Of course, our consciousness originally is pure Krishna consciousness. Pure means Krishna consciousness. So, the three gunas cannot act on pure consciousness. Just like the three gunas cannot act on the Supreme Lord. But in association with matter, our consciousness becomes contaminated consciousness. Contaminated consciousness. So Lord Kapila has earlier explained, if we analyze according to the Sankhya philosophy, the Sankhya system of analysis of matter, there are 24 elements. So what are the 24 elements? Begins with the 5 great elements. Bhumi, Rapo, Nalo, Vayu, Kham. Then there are the mind, intelligence, false ego. These three constitute our subtle body. But there is one more element that Lord Kapila explains, which is generally not described in many places in the scriptures. Contaminated consciousness. So if you count the 5 great elements, the 10 senses, the 5 senses of perception, the 5 senses of action, and the 5 sense objects. So 4 sets of 5s, 20. The 3 subtle elements which make up our subtle body, 23. So this 24th element is the contaminated consciousness. And Lord Kapila explains in the previous chapter, as explained, 26th chapter, fundamental principles of material nature, that the mixing element is the time, 25th element. And this time actually is another manifestation of the super soul. Super soul is acting from within our heart. The Lord is acting as super soul from within our heart, as Paramatma. Externally, he is active in this material world as time, Kala. So both Kala and Paramatma are nothing but the Supreme Lord. So this analysis of this entire material nature, this is completely different or apart from the living being himself, the Atma, the soul, the individual living entity. Completely separate, completely apart from all that. But in this world, material world, so expertly everything is mixed up by this Kala. Kala so nicely mixes everything, all these elements. And this element called false ego, ahankara, is the facility for the living entity who has nothing to do with matter, who is completely apart from, aloof from matter, to identify with matter. False ego is a facility to identify. What is this identifying? I think I am this body even though I am not the body. I think I am the mind even though I am not the mind. How does it happen? This is the effect of Kala, mixing up the identity, original identity, with a different identity. Body exists, even though body is temporarily manifested. The Mayavadis say the body does not exist, matter does not exist. But that is wrong. Matter exists, even though it is a temporary manifestation, this body. It is not a permanent reality. Body is a temporary manifestation. But the energy by which this body is manifested, that energy is eternal, material energy. And that energy is the energy of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is eternal. His energies are eternal. His energies always exist. His energies are always working. So material nature or material energy is working and producing so many effects. One of the effects of this material energy is this body that we have. Another effect is the mind. Mind means mentality. Everyone has a particular type of mentality that we generally identify as behavior. Then there is the manifestation of the intelligence, which is also another effect of the material energy only. Intelligence. Just like different people have different kinds of intelligence. Somebody has got kinesthetic intelligence, somebody has got musical intelligence, somebody has got intelligence for sketching or drawing or painting. So different kinds of intelligence. This is an effect of the material energy which is working. And what does the person do? He identifies with this temporary manifestation or effect. First he identifies as this body belongs to me. That's the first identification. This body belongs to me. And with time, as he goes on using his body, a stage comes when he thinks, I am this body. I am the body. Very intimate connection. Very strong attachment. Just like somebody, I'll give you an example. Somebody goes to see one car, new car, in a car showroom. When he goes to see the car, he clearly understands he is not the car. Definitely. So the car is there, I am there. And what do I want to do? I want to purchase the car. I want to buy the car. I want to own the car. Okay. So he goes, he sees if he is liking it and everything is worked out, then he purchases the car. He brings the car and shows everybody, I purchased a new car. This is my car now. As long as he had not purchased, it was not his. But now he starts describing that car as my car, my car, my car. But after he starts driving for a while, and he sees so many advantages of the car. I can go, I can travel freely. It's a very nice car. It's very comfortable. It's got very nice features, the latest technology. So it's made my life very much easy. So then he becomes deeply attached to the car. Deeply attached to the car. Then what happens? One day, unfortunately, somebody hits the car from behind while he's driving. And then how does the person feel? As if he is hurt. Sometimes when you see people fighting, when there is an accident, the way they talk as if they have been hurt, even though nothing has happened to him. It is just his car, maybe a little dented, but it was a new car. He was maintaining it so carefully. And he's fallen into, attachment with the car. So he identifies himself with the car. Almost completely. Later on, to pacify him, they'll say, after all, it's one dent. You take it to insurance company and they will, get it repaired. It will become as good as new. Don't worry. Don't cry. Don't feel bad. So, this identification, this is a function of the false ego, ahankara. This ahankara actually as an element, which is again a manifestation or an effect of the material energy only. The same material energy is manifesting as the elements, as the sense objects, as false ego, as the mind, as the body. Everything is simply this material energy. And I or you or the individual person, living entity, spirit, soul, is completely apart from all these effects of matter or material energy or material nature. You're completely apart from all this. In what sense completely different or apart? You belong to a totally different nature. This is stressed by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and many, many places. Right from the beginning, Dehi nosmin yatha dehe. Dehi and Deha. Krishna distinguishes very clearly the body and the occupant of the body, the resident of the body. So this distinction is clearly made in the scriptures, and this knowledge is the most important knowledge for anybody who wants to get out of this material entanglement, wants to understand the truth about his own identity, wants to understand the truth behind everything in existence in this world, wants to understand God, ultimate reality, absolute truth, then he requires knowledge. And this first knowledge, or first item of knowledge is, as described in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Dehi and Deha. This distinction has to be clearly understood. Now, to theoretically understand, philosophically understand, to use logic, to use some analogies, all that is there in so many Shastras, so many Upanishads and original Vedas and everything. But how much ever theoretical knowledge one may possess, one may use even his intellectual powers to actually understand and reflect and contemplate and even give discourse, talk about it, share it with others, have discussion with others, whatever it may be, Realization is completely another different aspect of knowing. Realization. Krishna uses this word, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha. Veti, one who knows or one who understands. In truth. Tato mam tattvato gyatva bhaktya mam abhijanati. By bhakti, one comes to know about the supreme absolute truth. But what is that kind of knowledge or knowing? It is not the same as knowing by reading, knowing by some explanation, some analogy, some theory, some discourse, in terms of some explanations. No. Some idea, some thought, no. This tattvataha veti, evam yo veti tattvataha, this is realization, which means it becomes a reality for you as the truth, by which you are clearly able to see and act and completely change your existence itself, the platform of existence, from material to spiritual. There are two distinct platforms of existence, the material platform and the spiritual platform. The spiritual platform is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Brahma Bhuta platform. And the material platform is described as Jiva Bhuta platform. This distinction is also very clearly made in the Bhagavad Gita. Jiva Bhuta and Brahma Bhuta. Brahma Bhuta is the spiritual platform. The platform where one has realized that whatever we see in existence, behind this, or as a source of all this existence, there is Krishna, the supreme absolute truth, the supreme Lord, the supreme reality, ultimate truth. And in Jiva Bhuta platform, material platform, the normal platform all of us are situated generally in this world, we are only aware to different extent the different effects, and we live in that world or that understanding, and we think that as all in all. We are totally unaware of Krishna. We are in ignorance about Krishna. We do not know Krishna. But is that the real position of the living entity, pure living entity? No. In original state of consciousness, pure state of consciousness, Krishna consciousness, you're fully aware. You know who is Krishna, who you are, what is your connection, what is your relationship. Not only your relationship, what is relationship of everything with Krishna. What happens? You forget Krishna. That's what is described in this purport. When one forgets his identity, you forget who you are, you forget Krishna. Why forgetfulness? Krishna bhuliya jeev bhogavancha kare. This is the reason for forgetfulness. Bhoga wants to enjoy. What type of enjoyment? Material enjoyment. This material enjoyment is a concocted enjoyment. What kind of Enjoyment, what kind of concoction is it? With the misunderstanding that I am separate from Krishna, I am independent of Krishna, or I am Krishna, or I am equal to Krishna. Different kinds of misconceptions, wrong understanding, false idea. Trying to enjoy in this way is called bhoga. Technically, it's a technical term. Bhoga vanchakare nikatastha maya tare japati adhare. Immediately, maya captures. Maya is the material energy. Material energy is always working. Always working. So material energy captures such a living being. So the original consciousness becomes covered. That's one explanation. Another explanation is the consciousness becomes contaminated by this desire for bhoga, bhogavancha. Bhogavancha. So then, in forgetfulness of Krishna, there is no knowledge of Krishna. That knowledge is lost. Of course, temporarily, but still. It is lost. That knowledge is lost. One is put into a state of ignorance. I think Padma Purana describes 3 kinds of energies of Krishna. Vishnu Shakti para prokta kshetragyakya tatha para avidya karma sangya anya tritiya shaktirishyate. This third category of energy is of the nature of avidya and karma. This is a result of Maya capturing us. Maya capturing us. Maya bewilders our consciousness because of our desire to enjoy materially. Maya tare japati adhari strongly holds on, captivates. Our consciousness is captivated, captured by Maya. And then what happens? In this state of consciousness where we are completely captivated by Maya, then simply Maya dictates. Maya dictates. And because our natural, original condition is to be servant, instead of serving Krishna, we begin to serve Maya. Dictation of Maya. That's all. And the way Maya dictates is through the false ego. Maya makes us think, I am independent, I am the master, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, I am the owner. This is a function of Maya. The influence of Maya is like that. Makes us think like that. Our consciousness completely becomes different. No awareness of Krishna, no awareness even of our own self, false identification with body or mind or some object of enjoyment, being attached to that object, identify with the object. So this function of false ego we have to understand. Now by hearing from spiritual authorities, we are able to awaken our original consciousness. We are able to purify our contaminated consciousness. We are able to uncover our original consciousness. Whichever way the Shastras describe, in different places, different descriptions are there. Because the original consciousness is never completely lost. Asangoyam purushaha. This is a Vedic statement that says that we never actually lose our original consciousness, Krishna consciousness. The soul is always pure. But it is the awareness or the consciousness or the knowledge of who I am or what I am, that is the one that gets polluted, contaminated, or covered, or misidentification. So here, Kapila is talking about specifically in this conditioned state or in this state of contaminated consciousness, when one is bewildered by Maya, then there are 3 states of consciousness for a human being. Specifically, this is for a human being. There is the state of wakefulness. I described this earlier. Many times we have come across this description in an earlier verse also. Wakeful state, dreaming state, and deep sleep state. These are very peculiar states of consciousness or awareness. What happens? In the wakeful state, we are aware or conscious of our gross body and everything connected with our gross body. Everything connected with the gross body. In the dreaming state, we forget our gross body and everything connected with the gross body. We become conscious of our subtle body, specifically our mind. And our mind creates or concocts so many objects simply called dream. A dream is a concoction in the mind, and we identify ourselves completely with the dream. Completely, total identification. Just like in the wakeful state, our total identification is there with this body. Exactly like this, we totally identify ourselves with the dream, swapna avastha. And then there is another state of consciousness called sushupti, where we are in ignorance about our gross body and we are in ignorance about our mind, dream state. We neither are aware of our gross body nor our subtle body. We are in ignorance. And in ignorance, what happens? We feel, because I, the spirit soul, am always a conscious being. Always a conscious being. It is just that, what am I conscious of? Everyone, what is that person conscious of? So depending on the state of consciousness, we are conscious of different things. So just like in the wakeful state, I am conscious of my body, gross body and the gross things connected with the body. In this dreaming state, I am conscious of my dream. In the deep sleep state, I feel lost. I feel lost. And this gives rise to a kind of fear of material existence itself. A sort of confusion arises. Who am I? Who am I, or where am I? Do I exist? This kind of doubt comes in. What am I? Who am I? Do I exist? So, this is not real. That's what is being explained here. The example is given, Nashtavitta Ivaturaha. A person who is very much attached to, say, some huge amount of wealth, lot of money. If he suddenly loses all that money, or most of it, then he considers that I am finished. I am finished. He's completely in a state of total bewilderment. Similarly, in this deep sleep state, this happens to us every night when you go to sleep. Every night it happens. So how many times we go into the state of ignorance and feel lost. That's why even when we wake up, there is a certain type of uncertainty. Immediately when you wake up, as soon as you wake up, there's a state of uncertainty about where you are, what you are doing, and somebody may be just coming out of a dream sometimes. You may wake up from the state of ignorance or from the state of dreaming. So when you wake up from the state of the dream, oh, it was a dream. If it was a nice dream, you feel sorry. And if it was a bad dream, good riddance. Oh, it was only a dream. I am perfectly okay. You feel relief. But if you wake up from ignorance, there is a sort of uncertainty. Where am I? What am I doing? Because from the dream to the wakeful state is either some kind of relief or some kind of feeling sorry. Oh, actually it is only a dream. But if it is from the ignorant state to the wakeful state, where am I? Quickly, of course, Paramatma helps you from within your heart to identify, to recognize that you were sleeping. Now you have woken up. And you have given back the memory of the previous night when you went to sleep. You get back your memory. So this happens repeatedly. So ultimately, actually every person is a confused person about his identity. So temporarily he goes on identifying with the gross body, and the gross body is also changing. As one develops one's intelligence, one grows up, then identification more with the mind and intelligence and false ego. False ego, of course, is the instrument for, or the very basis of identification. So not so much false ego. With the mind and intelligence, the identification in the wakeful state especially becomes very strong. You develop your intelligence, you develop your mind, different kinds of ideas, different kinds of thoughts, everything here. Of course, that's also manifest externally by our manipulating matter. That is explained by Krishna in the 7th chapter. Apareyam mitastu anyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. This entire world is sustained because the living entity is exploiting matter, especially exploiting gross matter. Because gross matter exploitation is based on the mind coming up with different ideas, how to enjoy, how to possess, how to manipulate for my enjoyment. So this business starts as one develops one's intelligence or grows up. Then when that starts, the identification shifts from dream or the wakeful state, the gross body, to something else, to different ideas, different aspirations, different plans. It's another world that we create, a concocted world. But none of them are the reality, permanent reality, eternal reality. They're all simply manifestations of the same material energy, and they're all temporary. So Srila Prabhupada explains in another conversation how to easily understand this daytime, whatever is happening is exactly like what is happening at night. So Prabhupada says, you are actually going through, at night you're going through night dream. In the daytime you're going through what is called as daydream. Now carefully hear this. What is daydream? Now as long as this body is there, in this life, when I got this body, even though the body is changing, but still I don't consider so much the changes of the body as the body is completely different. No. Even though childhood to youth to old age, the body is changing, but still I identify with the body as I am this body. What do I think when the changes happen? I have grown up. I have grown up. Whatever. So, from birth to death, if you consider the body from birth to death, that has one long dream interrupted by these night dreams. Then in the next life, this identity of the body is completely gone. And whatever next body you get, you identify with that body. Just like from one night to another night, let's say one night you had one dream. Next night you have another dream. First night, let's say one night somebody is dreaming, I am a king. Next night he is dreaming, I am a merchant. So what happened to that identity or identifying with the dream body as king? That's gone. The dream is over, finished. Next night when he is dreaming, I am a merchant, that's another body that is created in the dream. Temporarily created in the dream. Similarly, this daytime body what we have, gross body, this is also created, no? For some period between birth and death. Even if you don't consider the change of the body. Okay, just take the body between birth and death. So life after life, there is an identification with a temporary body, for it is also a dream. That body will not exist. That situation will not exist. It will be finished, over. So, Prabhupada explains this is the daydream. So, this night dream and daydream is going on. And the spirit soul simply, as the 13th chapter explains of the Bhagavad Gita, Kshetrajna, you are just a witness, you are just aware. And in the language of the Bhagavatam, you are identifying using this false ego as I am that body. So, this has to be understood and this has to stop. Then only this concomitant suffering because of falsely identifying with the dream body or the body in this wakeful state, that will be finished. And that is practically possible if you really want relief from this misidentification. You have to engage in devotional service. How much ever theoretical knowledge a person may have, tattvataha veti will not happen. Realization won't happen. Being able to disidentify oneself from the body will not happen. How much ever philosophy somebody may speak or read or try to understand intellectually, mentally, even imagine, I am not the body. But actual disidentification, cutting off that false ego, will not happen till you do devotional service to Krishna. It is only the power of devotional service that cuts off that false ego identification. That is why whether one goes through the process of jnana and ultimately comes to bhakti, or one directly takes up bhakti, saving a lot of time and lot of effort, an intelligent person, a fortunate person, directly takes up bhakti and straight away cuts off this false identification. By the simple understanding from authorities, in good faith, I am servant of Krishna eternally. This body is temporary. I am not this body. I am not the mind. Simply by hearing, accepting, and engaging in devotional service. Now, even hearing and accepting is not enough. One has to do something. Engage the senses. All the senses of action and the senses of perception. And even the mind, the intelligence, the ego, everything has to be engaged. That is the example of Ambarish Maharaj. Bhagavatam first describes the 9 processes of bhakti, and even by engaging in one process, great devotees like Parikshit Maharaj, Shukadeva Goswami, Prahlad Maharaj, etc., they all became perfect. But Bhagavatam also gives us the example of Ambarish Maharaj, who engaged in all the 9 processes by engaging all the senses, not the 9 processes, all the senses. Ambarish Maharaj engaged, and in that way, he was a perfect devotee. So for us, that example of Ambarish Maharaj is more applicable, because we cannot sit and continuously hear or continuously speak about Krishna or continuously remember Krishna. We cannot. We need variety. So that variety of engagement is so many different senses can be engaged in different ways. So Rupa Goswami, while giving us this process of sadhana bhakti, the practice of sadhana bhakti, he has given us varied engagements. 64 items of Vaidhi bhakti. Varied engagements. So we have to follow this process of Vaidhi bhakti, Vidhi bhakti, the rules and regulations of bhakti, and actually engage the senses, the mind, the different objects of sense enjoyment, everything we have to engage properly under superior guidance, under authority of the spiritual master, of the acharyas, of the shastras. Then this actual cutting off of the false ego, false identification, everything happens. And once that false ego is cut off, then this knowledge is not so important. The technical details of the knowledge is not so important. You'll simply be acting in Krishna consciousness. That's all. The result is you are engaged in devotional service. You have no engagement in the material energy. So I'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.